What's up everyone and welcome back to the World History Channel. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button today. Let's get started. The tragic death of Juana Maria, San Nicolas Island's a lone woman, the main character in Scott Odell's classic Island of the Blue Dolphins, probably captivated anyone who grew up reading it. She is a young woman who lives entirely by herself on an island in the Pacific Ocean. Her entire tribe has left the island, while she remains behind. Many people may not be aware that Odell based his novel on Juana Maria, the lone woman of San Nicolas Island, a real person and real event. Born sometime in the early 19th century, no one knows for certain when, the woman who would eventually be known as Juana Maria of San Nicolas Island spent a significant portion of her life completely isolated from human contact. She was finally removed from her isolation in 1853, but her time away from the island was brief. There are only a few pieces of information that historians can piece together about Juana's life. When taken as a whole, they tell the tragic and heartbreaking story of a woman who, despite being found, remained lost in numerous ways. Like the Trail of Tears that Native Americans were forced to take to her east, Juana Maria's story is one that maps the contours of 19th-century Native American tragedy at the hands of European colonialism. By 1835, her tribe only had around 20 people left. San Nicolas Island is one of California's Channel Islands. The Nicoleños, Juana Maria's tribe, inhabited the island for approximately 10,000 years. However, despite their long history on the island, they were not immune to tragedy. Juana Maria may have been a young child when disaster struck in 1811 or 1814. A group of native Alaskan and Russian otter hunters attacked the island and devastated the local population. The tribe's population had stood at 300 people, and it was reduced to dozens in the wake of the attack. By 1835, the population was around 20 individuals. Catholic priests expelled the remaining members of the tribe from the island. The entire Juana Maria tribe was expelled from San Nicolas Island in 1835. They didn't leave by choice. Catholic priests on the mainland specifically requested that the entire Nicoleño tribe be evacuated. The priests' motives are still a mystery. Were they evacuating the tribe because they worried they could not sustain their livelihood on San Nicolas Island? Or, more sinisterly, did they merely wish to convert more people? Like much of Juana Maria's story, these questions will probably never get answers. Juana remained on the island without being found, but no one really knows why. The rest of Juana Maria's small tribe was successfully removed from the island by Catholic priests in 1835. Juana, on the other hand, did not escape. Why was she left behind? There is no definitive answer. One story claims that she was absent from the group as they were being evacuated because she was out looking for her missing 2-year-old child. Another story imagines Juana Maria jumping off the boat, believing that her little brother was still on the island. Whatever happened, an approaching storm meant that the ship departed San Nicolas in a hurry, leaving the woman behind. Despite 18 years in solitude, she was discovered smiling. After several futile attempts at locating the lost woman who failed to depart with the rest of her tribe in 1835, the captain of a ship called the Piors Nada, a man by the name of George Nicoleño, finally located Juana Maria in 1853. In his memoir, The Life and Adventures of George Nicoleño, the captain recounted the moment they discovered Juana, whom he described as an old woman, busily stripping whale blubber. She smiled and bowed, chattering away to them in an unintelligible language, not darting away from the captain and his crew. She was of medium height, about 50 years old but still strong and active. Her face was pleasing as she was continually smiling. Her clothing consisted of but a single garment of skins. She lived alone in a whalebone hut during her 18 solitary years on the island. Juana Maria was left on San Nicolas Island by herself for 18 years because the ship that left without her never returned. It's hard to say what impact total isolation had on Juana Maria. But she was resourceful and went about her life. She hunted seals and ducks and made clothing and a shelter. When her rescuers found her in 1853, they discovered that she had built a hut out of whale bones and was probably living in a nearby cave. When she was finally found, she had no way of communicating with anyone. Juana Maria's solitude didn't end as soon as she was rediscovered in 1853. When she was brought to the Santa Barbara mission, she could not communicate with anyone. She was clearly speaking a language that no one could understand from her native culture. So, after she had been found, she couldn't tell anyone her harrowing or triumphant story. To this day, scholars do not know what exact language Juana Maria spoke. She was the last surviving member of her tribe. Further tragedy awaited those Nicoleños who departed San Nicolas Island in 1835. The ship that took them from the island was the Peorias Nada, which translates to better than nothing. Though the ship ran aground in San Francisco Bay, the survivors moved to the San Gabriel mission. Unfortunately, lack of immunity to the diseases they encountered on the mainland got the better of the Nicoleños, and they all died. By the time Juana Maria reached the mainland in 1853, she had become the last member of her tribe. She died after only 7 weeks on the mainland. Though Juana Maria found human contact again in 1853, she only got to enjoy it for 7 short weeks. After living in solitude for nearly 2 decades, her immune system was quite vulnerable when she arrived in Santa Barbara. She developed dysentery quickly. On October 19, 1853, she tragically passed away, leaving behind essentially nothing but mystery. Her real name is unknown. Many scholars refer to Juana Maria as the lone woman of San Nicolas Island, for a good reason. No one knows her real name. After she was taken to Mission Santa Barbara, Catholic priests gave her the name Juana Maria. In Island of the Blue Dolphins, she is named Corona. But there is no historical evidence for what her real name actually was. She became a local curiosity and was dubbed the Wild Woman. When she finally came to Santa Barbara in 1853, the locals treated her like a curiosity, especially since no one could actually talk to her. She was dubbed the Wild Woman. Newspapers reported on how she was acclimating to life at the Santa Barbara mission, even noting that she marveled at the horses around the mission and enjoyed coffee and liquor. She even performed songs and dances for those who came to look at the Wild Woman. Sinfarosa, Captain Nidiver's wife, cared for her. Upon her arrival in Santa Barbara, Juana Maria went to stay at the home of the man who discovered her, Captain George Nidiver. There, Captain Nidiver's wife, Sinfarosa Sanchez Nidiver, became Juana Maria's companion and nurse. However, Juana Maria's stay there was tragically short, only 7 weeks, and neither her nurse nor a friend were able to prevent her from contracting dysentery on the mainland. Her conversion to Catholicism by priests probably took place without her consent. There is absolutely no reason to believe that Juana Maria was a Christian, even though she was brought to the Santa Barbara mission in 1853. After all, Mission Santa Barbara was effectively a colonial outpost for Spanish Catholicism. But Juana's religious affiliation changed over the course of her stay, with or without her consent. On October 19, 1853, a priest baptized her on her deathbed. Since she could not communicate, it is unlikely that she knew a priest was claiming her soul for the Christian God. Many of the objects associated with her have been lost. Juana Maria brought some objects with her to Santa Barbara from San Nicolas Island, including bone needles that she had probably used to make a dress from cormorant feathers. Unfortunately, those objects had been housed in San Francisco and were destroyed in the Great San Francisco earthquake of 1906. Additionally, her cormorant dress has also disappeared, notably after being shipped to the Vatican. She is further erased from the record, as if all traces of her life have vanished. Her story lives on in fictional accounts. Probably because so few facts could be gleaned from her life on San Nicolas, the woman known to history as Juana Maria has had a rich afterlife in fiction. As she captured the public's imagination in her own time, she was characterized in specific ways. More recently, her story was fictionalized in Scott Odell's hugely popular novel, Island of the Blue Dolphins. This celebrated novel, perhaps more than any other account of her life, has brought the mythology, legend, and story of the lone woman of San Nicolas Island to generations of young readers. The captain who discovered her inspired Ralph Waldo Emerson. Near the end of his life, Captain George Nidiver, the man who finally found Juana Maria on San Nicolas Island after 18 years, decided to record the story of his life. And it is from this account, the life and adventures of George Nidever, that much of what modern audiences know about Juana Maria comes. George Nidever's life was filled with incredible feats and tales, not the least of which was his discovery of Juana Maria. He was born in 1802 in Tennessee. At the close of the 19th century, American readers enjoyed his autobiography, which was packed with these accounts. Among his fans was one Ralph Waldo Emerson, who included lyrics from a ballad about Nidever in his essay Courage.